Once again, welcome to Luxembourg, welcome to the Eurocloud Congress. I'm glad to have you here. It's a pleasure for me to open this event, which seems to have quite some highlights during the course, with very interesting speakers and panelists for this year. This is our first time we are here in Luxembourg in this environment with a Eurocloud conference. Surprisingly enough, because Eurocloud is just in its fourth year of existence, so since the beginning we are here, and that is our home base. We are welcoming very honored guests, starting with Ken Ducatel, who is responsible for the cloud strategy of the European Union within the European Commission. He will give us a keynote speak right after my welcome. And we are welcoming Linda Strick, who is heading the Cloud for Europe program of the Commission as responsible or as part of the Fraunhofer Focus research organization. We are welcoming guests from very far, from China. We have a Chinese delegation with us from the Chinese Institute of Electronics, headed by Yuan Yung Qin. We have guests from the United States, from the ZIA Software Industry and Information Association, with Linda Strick and Fritz Feltings. We have representatives from OASIS, the Global Standardization Institute, with us. OASIS is running a co-event next to ours here in Luxembourg, and we are very glad to welcome them here, as well as the MOBIS EU funding project, who run a workshop with us at the same time. We have a consortia meeting of another EU funding project called Clouding SME, and you will recognize Clouding SME must be something with cloud and something with SME. They have their consortia meeting here today. I welcome all our Eurocloud members from the various countries, our Eurocloud representatives, and of course all participants of the Congress. Now, what would be a Congress without sponsoring? It wouldn't be possible. So we are very glad this year to have very honorable sponsors with us, with Dimension Data as our platinum sponsor, with gold sponsors like Fabersoft, like Fujitsu, like Telindus and Cisco. We have silver sponsors with LuxCloud, EBRC, IBM, Post Luxembourg, and Kingston. We have associated partners with us, with Fidel, who are our hosts, if you want, with Luxembourg for Business, and with ZIA and OASIS. And of course, we have media partners, so to say, IT Nation, IT One, Delano, Data Center World, and Cloud Expo Europe. So, welcome to the Congress. Talking about the Congress organization, I have to state that we had a very excellent support by Fidel, by Luxembourg for Business, and by some of our Eurocloud colleagues, in particular Phil Wainwright, who is the chairman of Eurocloud UK, who did the agenda setup, and by Melanie Delanoy, who is present here in Luxembourg and who did all the organizational work for this event. Tonight we will have another event, which is the Eurocloud Award Gala, taking place in the Sofitel, not far from here, just 5 minutes down the road. We will have a cocktail reception at 6:30 and a gala starting at 8 o'clock. But that's not all. There is even more. There is a guided data center tour on Thursday, the day after our Congress, where we are visiting the very high-quality data centers here in Luxembourg, Tier 4 data centers at locations of EBRC, of European Data Hub, and LuxConnect. There is still the possibility for registering for this tour if you are interested. If so, please contact our reception at the entrance. Now, Let me talk a little bit about the Eurocloud network. You probably know that the strength of organization very much depends on the engagement of the individuals and the contribution of the individuals involved, and so it is with Eurocloud. And when we are working together with our different mentalities and different cultures, we sometimes get the feeling how the work at the Commission must be dealing with the various European countries. On the other hand, we have a common idea, a common spirit, and that is on cloud. So we are, even with our differences, we have able to find together, and from that perspective, the work is really fun and we are moving forward. So I'd like to express my thanks also to the Eurocloud team for their voluntary, mostly voluntary work. I mentioned EU funding projects already. MOBIS, has been the very first project where with Eurocloud involvement, and that project is very interesting because it goes for fostering mobile business through enhanced cloud solutions. And I do not need to explain that mobile is a very strong driver for cloud. So this is a very interesting project. And Clouding SME, I mentioned also, is a project which drives, which aims for acting as a catalyst for the acceleration and successful adoption of cloud computing by European SMEs. And there are quite some European SMEs around. Looking at Eurostat, we have 22 million small media enterprises around, so there is quite a potential to address. There is a third EU funding project also to name, that is Cloud Catalyst, and that is, even with the Eurocloud involvement, looking for re-energizing productivity, efficiency and competitiveness of European economy through cloud computing. So these are all projects which drive our the cloud on the European marketplace. Let me talk about international cooperations. Our name Eurocloud says already that we are focusing on Europe, and that is our first priority. But we all know that we are living in a global world, and through internet and cloud we have to be connected to overseas, whether it's the United States, whether it is Asia, all places of the world, and therefore in the last 12 months we have been aiming to get in contact to other organizations on those places, and therefore we are very happy for having this cooperation with SIA and CIE, and in result you see them here. We are going for EU, for US EU and China EU workshops tomorrow afternoon, and you are all very much invited to join in and discuss with us the ongoing activities. Just recently, a week ago, Vice President Tobias Höllbert, Chairman of Eurocloud Austria, visited Taiwan, and a third collaboration agreement has been signed, in this case with the Information Industry Institute of Taiwan. So Eurocloud is connecting to the world, and I think that is of benefit for our European providers, for the European industry, and let us continue on this way. The phrase cloud, in my belief, is something which probably will disappear over years. But I'm totally convinced that the way of providing IT as a service, the business model, the provisioning model behind the term cloud, that will stay for a while, in difference to that what I like to call the historical IT, which is the own-driven or outsourced IT. And I also believe that cloud will develop further and will become a platform for innovations of all kind in all industries of kind and in private life, of course. And that is where the real growth comes from, because it then will become valid in all areas of the business and private life, and this will accelerate the entire industry. things like Industry 4.0, things like smart cities, smart energy, smart whatever you can think of, e-government, mobility, healthcare, whatever you can name, are areas where innovations will take place on the basis of cloud computing. You probably are aware that Eurocloud has been focusing on improving trust and confidence in cloud on customer side. Our view is that that is the best value contribution we can provide to our customers if the acceptance of cloud with the customers is higher. That is the best contribution for our providers being members of Eurocloud. And that is something which we of course will continue and even foster for the future. And in that respect, we very much appreciate the work of the European Union and the European Commission, for example, in the field of data protection regulation. Last year at this place, we had Viviane Reding introducing in a very ambitious speech the European data privacy regulation, and we feel that is the right way to go, harmonizing regulations throughout Europe, where we have nowadays quite fragmented regulations all over the countries, European countries. What we also need to admit that or to recognize that there are still quite some discussions on the privacy regulations by the countries. And I only can recommend that we should not look for the minimum consensus politics quite often takes, but we should look for the best of breed solution we can find in the world or even in Europe, and take this as a basis for new regulations. And as I said, we are focusing on trust and confidence in cloud by the customers. And if we do so, you can imagine that we are not very much amused about the recent scandal on Snowden, Prism, Tempora, and whatever. And yes, business is built on trust, and if there is no trust, there will not be a business. So we all are affected, in my view, in the one or the other way. It is clear to us that a widely discussed interception scandal around Prism will further unsettle potential cloud customers. And we all recognize that what happens here has nothing to do with lawful interception, because lawful interception is a must for governments, to be clear. But it is not on defending society from actual dangers then. And it must be expected that government bodies only monitor communications when there is a concrete danger. In the past, some of our cloud providers and global players have been accused justifiably of rapid data collection and retention. But now we recognize that is happening with the governments as well. And I think in this context we have to put this on the table. The current scandal in the first place is a political theme, and our industry is just deeply affected by it. It amazes me that the national governments in Europe have not reacted more strongly and clearly about this obvious need for action. And I'm also surprised that both citizens, private people, as the companies on customers and provider side are not voicing their resentment more vehemently and provoking national politics to take action. As a very praiseful exception, I have to state that this is given with the European Union, which has taken a clear position. And I refer to the speech of Viviane Reding, beginning of September, who really took clear position on that. we're having Ken Ducatel here talking about the European cloud strategy and their way of implementation. And we are very positive on these activities. Eurocloud has quite some involvement in all the various activities around that. In the ETSI CSC cloud standardization phase, in the ENISA identification of valid cloud certification standard, in the various special interest groups on certification, on standards, on cloud of conduct. And we also have Linda Strick with us talking about the third pillar of the European cloud strategy, that is the pre-procurement for the public sector, and that is in a combination, or is referring to the Cloud for Europe project. So I think those measures are on the right way. But on the other hand, still we are not approaching for the target. There is still a long way to go. And I would like to raise the one or the other field where I think, or we think, action needs to be taken. So far, cloud services appear on the market mostly as silos. And if there is a customer using several cloud services, he may have several silos next to each other, where not a single sign-on, but individual single sign-on needs to happen, and where there is no clear role and rights management combined with that. I think for customer acceptance, it is really a need that we get to a point where identity management in combination with single sign-on for the cloud, including rights and permission management, should be given. There are individual solutions in the market, of course, but they are all limited to some restraint, but we need to have a broader solution on that. There is situation where we got addressed by our members, especially by the small media enterprises, who get in trouble once they are dealing with a potential customer, but finally the deal does not conclude because of the license situation. Most customers do have licenses in place, and they want to get them converted when they go for cloud services, but that license conversion in most cases does not work out. And that in quite some of the cases, I was told, leads to the fact that the cloud business does not succeed. And so I think that should be a field also to look in deeper and look for solutions where the providers, whether they are the providers of the licenses, but also the provider of cloud, can live with. And another very important field in my view is, especially with focus on the small media enterprises, the fact that one single cloud service is the result of partnering of providers along the value chain. And that works very well. That requires certification, that requires a certain level of quality, but it also bears the risk that one of the partners in that value chain may drop out because of insolvency. And in result, a customer may not have access to his data anymore and may be affected himself. And we need to find a solution for that as well, which is not that easy because it impacts law, it impacts insurance, it impacts various aspects, and they need to be synchronized. But I think it is a must to find a way with that. I learned that especially Luxembourg, where we are here, is in the lucky situation that they have a law already in place for the continuation of a service for a limited time once a service, a provider fails. And probably that can be a blueprint for other European countries as well. But there is a need for taking action. So as you see, there is a lot of subjects around. I don't worry about the next conference next year. I'm pretty sure we will find subjects for the agenda. I wish you that you get infected and inspired by the energy that cloud brings along, and even better, if you bring your own energy and inspiration into the cloud and into this Congress. Become an ambassador of Eurocloud, become a supporting member, and in the countries or on European level, and support our efforts to build on trust and support the development on cloud or cloud-based innovation for the future, and by that strengthen Europeans' economy as a whole. If you are interested, get in touch with either me or my colleagues from Eurocloud. There are plenty, some here around. Thank you very much for your attention.